Hey guys, this is Kevin and Aisha Shelton with the Marriage and Real Estate Podcast,
where we navigate partnership, prosperity, and parenthood. Hey guys, this is the Marriage and Real Estate Podcast. I'm Kevin Shelton. This is Tyron McDaniel.
I was supposed to say something.
No, I mean, typically it's Aisha, but Aisha ain't here. Okay. So this is going to be a guys-only conversation today. And we're going to talk about whatever we want to talk about. So we'll decide the name of this. We'll name this later.
Depending on what happens.
Depending on what happens. But no, so I would say to continue our conversation, but maybe we should do some introduction. So introduce yourself to the people. Tell them how you got started in real estate. I like good chat.
Sure. Tyron McDaniel from Fifth Ward here in Houston, Texas. Got started in real estate working in a mortgage office, actually, answering the phone.
Interesting. Okay. I didn't know that. I don't think I've ever heard your story.
Wow. That's funny. Okay. Yeah. That's how I got started, though. A friend of mine was a account rep for a subprime lender. And he was like, man, we got to start a mortgage company. At the time, I didn't even know what a mortgage company was. And so the lead into that was he's like, cool, I'm going to get you a job with one of the brokers. So, you know, you can kind of learn and so on and so forth. So basically, I was a glorified secretary because I didn't know what I was doing.
How long ago was that?
Dude, that was around 1999.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, damn.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
So that's coming up on 20 years.
Yeah. I mean, it's over 20 years.
Oh, yeah.
It's
1999.
It's 2021.
That's true. That's 22 years?
Yeah.
Oh, damn. That's wild. All right. Continue story. Okay.
So no, that was how I got started, man. And you know, just some serendipitous things happened as, you know, as life progressed. You know,
so you and your wife were together?
No, at this time we weren't. No.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah, this is before she and I had met. My wife's name is Angela. So before we met, that's what I was doing, kind of transitioning into the space. She already had a real estate license. She was an engineer. She had a real estate license. Yeah.
So she was already in it.
Right.
You know, on the engineering, real estate license side.
Right.
Met you, y'all just both kind of fell into it together or went forward together?
Yeah, well, so she was like, you know, many people who are part-time. You know, you have a license, you got a friend, you might sell a house here or there.
Do a couple transactions.
Yeah, maybe one or two a year or something like that. And so once we got together and my buddy and I started this mortgage venture, over time as we started, you know, dating, ultimately got engaged, got married, which was a relatively short period of time, but in probably that 2-year time span. So say, you know, roughly going into 2000, between 2000 and 2002, you know, all of those things kind of developed. So my buddy and I set up a mortgage company called the Mortgage Outlet over our 59 in Hillcroft. And, you know, that was my initial entry into the space.
So how did you get into development from the mortgage side? So
back to why I even wanted to do the mortgage company with my buddy, it was I've always wanted to be in real estate. At that time, I didn't know what a developer was or what a mortgage broker, loan officer, or realtor were, but I just knew I wanted to own houses. I wanted to build some. Even further back, one of my sisters has a Habitat home. So when I was in the 7th grade, I volunteered and helped build her house and some of her neighbors' homes over in Fifth Ward. So
is that where you were first exposed to it, though?
That was intimately, yes. My mom earlier in life, when I was about in the 2nd or 3rd grade, was going to have a house built on a vacant lot over in City Gas. And so I watched her go through that whole process and ultimately couldn't get the financing and never did it. So we ultimately moved to our house that we moved in that I grew up in Fifth Ward. So that was my first time I can remember specifically asking questions about real estate because she showed us the picture of the plans that were to go on the lot, and we had cleared it off and did some other stuff. So that was the first time officially.
So, okay. Kind of introduction from your mom.
Sure.
Sister had a house built.
Right.
Jump forward.
Now I'm a broker.
Game.
Angela and I. And so pretty much, you know, so I said, hey, my epiphany was if I can understand financing, I can buy, build, or sell anything I want.
That's true.
And so I spent, you know, probably several years just being a mortgage broker, doing loans and just understanding how that piece of the puzzle works. We flipped some houses, bought some rentals, did some things of that nature. But my whole premise was to get to being able to be a builder and a developer because I felt like at that stage, you understand everything.
You're controlling the entire process.
Exactly. You're at the top of the food chain to a certain degree. And so that led to us doing our first project. And the first new construction project I did was in 2005, 2006.
So you started with new construction. You didn't do rehab?
No. I did rehabs up until that point, but it took me that amount of time to get to doing my first new construction project.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So how did you get the bug for design and to give I guess context, right?
Sure.
So now you do
Right.
everything from
Right.
design, build, advising, consulting. Your wife has, her own
Right.
brokerage, all that good jazz. So
Sure.
y'all have the full gambit. But to get to that point, you put
Right.
together all the pieces. So,
Right.
okay, we got to mortgage side, understanding the financing. Your wife already had her real estate license.
Sure.
Understood the engineering side of that to a degree.
Right.
And then, okay, you jump doing projects now.
Right.
Now you did your first new construction.
Right.
Now bring in the design piece.
Sure.
And
So from a design perspective, one of the things is I also earlier in my career got my real estate license. And so I took out clients, sold houses, did listings for a period of time, which my wife had always recommended I do that way early in my career. It's one of the biggest mistakes I made is not doing that, not paying attention to her advice, doing that sooner. She used to give me, hey, forget loans. Let's focus on the real estate side.
Okay.
And I was like, no, I like, there was a certain ego part that you was the loan, the money guy,
Look, at the time though, loans would make cash.
Oh, but yeah,
though.
that
that was like big money.
Yeah, it was. But, there were still, at least on the real estate side, you were going to get 3% for sure. Even though loans were more lucrative, there were plenty of loans we did where we didn't get 3% or 2%. Yeah. We did 1%, so it would have been more lucrative financially, but it also would have allowed us to grow further to what we wanted to do ultimately anyway, faster. But when I worked with, as an agent, I would pay attention to what people really want. I've always, even to this day, my wife has a certain type of client. She'll say, hey, this is what they want. I'll go on MLS and find it. Even with some of the agents that are within our network.
I do that too.
Yeah, because, I just developed an acute ability to hear what it is you desire and have some level of understanding of what's in the marketplace and where we can find that.
And you can see it before other people otherwise would be able to see it.
Exactly.
You can see the potential in something because you know what goes into it.
And one of the things I always share with people that are asking about real estate, I say, go master an area. Take the time to master an area. Being from Houston and focusing in an area where I'm from it, I have historical context.
Yep.
So I know what it was like.
You can put everything in reference.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So now that's a strategic advantage. A lot of times we go away from strengths or advantages, or we try to have a shortcut. No, just find an area you can master it, and now you can see it from all the different facets. So that's what's helped me from a design perspective. And then I kind of take that knowledge and I feed upon it. So I've studied design. I used to want to be an architect, so I studied. Now I say studied. It was my own studies. I didn't go to college or anything to study, but I studied some of the contemporaries and
But I mean, you've been doing this for 20 years. That's more than a college education.
Most certainly.
Right. Like
certainly.
The things that you've learned practically,
right,
you wouldn't learn in school anyway. Like,
a
general superintendent I used to work for when I first got into commercial construction, he told me, them books don't teach you shit. He was like, you don't know nothing until you get in this field. I remember learning to read blueprints. College don't teach you to read blueprints.
Wow, that's fascinating.
It doesn't. Like now they have some version of blueprint classes, but when I was in school, it wasn't a thing.
Exactly.
I learned how to read blueprints because my general superintendent locked me in a plan room for 3 months and made me study every single part of those drawings, every note, every line. And these are commercial drawings. So these are like racks of drawings, right? And he's like, every trade, like every specialty, every note, every line, read them.
Wow.
And blueprint reading is literally just reading. Right. It's just a lot of reading and technical and expertise.
Attention, and understanding what it is. Most certainly. No, that's powerful.
So now you come full gambit. So what are you focusing on now? And then we'll jump into some fun topics.
Man, so, as is with life, you continue to evolve. So right now, we're obviously growing. I'm growing more of my design build firm. Because I'm wanting to, in order to have a greater impact, you got to kind of scale and leverage how you're going to engage. And so design allows me to impact projects without me having to manage it. My managing projects isn't my strong suit. That's not what I consider to be one of my unique geniuses. Design is, and recognizing what's not there that can be there is where more of my genius is. And so I'm really building up that side of our business and leveraging that. And I'm excited about some of the projects that I kind of dedicated that, going forward, I'm going to do some bigger projects just because it allows scale. I like smaller projects because I can just spend so much time on these cute, neat little details.
Mhm.
But my mission in terms of things I really want to accomplish in life require me having a bigger impact. And so I have to do bigger projects in order to be able to do that.
No, that makes sense. I mean, that's a natural progression, right? Like
Exactly.
you start off small, then you
Most
get
certainly.
bigger, then you realize what you're capable of,
Right.
and you go even bigger. So break down, from I guess where you were company wise, because you've done a great job of branding your company, right? So give the audience a little bit of background on your companies, how they've evolved into the
Most
different
certainly.
facets.
So after having done several types of real estate, in terms of how I bought, we just buy anywhere in the city that was a good deal, and once I turned 40, one of the things that I learned from reading a book or an excerpt of an article, and it talked about how most men begin to make their greatest impact in life once they turn 40. And if you read Think and Grow Rich, he calls it the transmutation of sexual desires. Basically, you're not as wild as you used to be. And so now you start to take that energy and channel it more. And you're more in tune with who you are as a person because you live longer.
I don't know if I want to lose that.
Well, he didn't say you lose the desire.
I'm just saying I want the sex too.
Yeah, well, no, that's what I'm saying. He didn't say, you're not going to perform.
Yeah, look,
it's just, you don't, it's more, and it's more about the pursuits and how you choose to channel that energy.
Gotcha. You're not channeling it chasing the lady.
Exactly.
Which, I've been married since I was 20.
Wow.
Which you've been married since you were 20.
Right. Close.
For me, I always knew that marriage was the stable foundation for building wealth, right? So I studied history, and great men were always married young. Because the only way you get to those silver and gold years is to get married young, or else you ain't gonna live that goddamn long, right? So, I was like, well, how do I get to that 75? How do I get to the point where, I've been building this foundation for 40 years. So I got married at 20. Now the problem is who I married at 20 and who I was didn't work. Right. So while I'm an advocate for marriage, I'm not an advocate for somebody at 20 because you don't really know yourself. Right. Exactly. I didn't know myself fully. I definitely didn't know my partner. And while I had a plan for my life, she had a plan for her life too. And we both became what we planned. Those two things were just completely separate. So we're strangers in the middle of the road now. Even though we share a 13-year-old.
Most certainly.
You know what I mean? So
what's go ahead.
Go ahead. No.
The thought that I think about on that, because you talked about, what were some of the things that you studied, what in terms of that let you say, okay, I need to do this at this particular stage. Sometimes there are things that we want in advance of knowing how to maintain those things. You follow me? And so I have different areas in my life where I wanted something and we had the ability to make it happen. But once you make it happen, are you able to maintain that? And a lot of that ability to maintain has to do with where you are in life, which goes to the other point of not recommending someone marry so early because you don't even know who you are, let alone can you appreciate who your spouse may be. You know what I mean?
But that's another thing they say about being 40 too. They say most wealthy people don't get their money till 40 because that's when you know how to keep it.
Oh, most certainly.
Right.
Most
so
certainly.
Yeah, you could make $1 billion at 20, but will last till 40.
Most certainly.
You know what I mean? So,
and how do you measure wealth?
That's true.
Because one of the things that I found in my own personal journey through life is the people that I know that were wealthiest, it wasn't necessarily tied to a dollar amount in terms of what I would want to emulate from what they had. Now, obviously money wasn't an issue. But to me, going back to some of the tenets that I think we both hold is, they had a loving relationship with their family. They had great relationships with friends that that they were able to nurture over years, not just, okay, we met 3 years ago. No, this is my boy when
you could enjoy
30 years ago.
That long-term relationship.
That to me is wealth. You know what
true.
I mean? And its embodiment. And so going back to, so you got married at 20, I got married at 25. It's been fun.
Now the difference in that is, a couple of things. So you got married at 25, you still married.
Right.
I got married at 20, I got remarried at 30.
Gotcha.
Right.
Okay.
Now that second marriage is the reason we on this podcast.
Exactly. No,
right?
well, certainly.
Because that was a much clearer version of myself.
Right.
She was, my wife's 3 years older than me. So she knew very well what she wanted in her life. But I'll say this though, getting married at 20, the opportunities that I had, not because of my marriage, but because I was married, right?
Oh, certainly.
Was amazing.
Right.
So I built an amazing career, especially professionally, before we started entrepreneurial, because I had the responsibilities of a family,
right.
and somebody could look at me and go, hey, he's got a kid, he's got a wife, let me give him a chance.
You're stable.
Exactly.
Whereas,
so it still worked.
Exactly.
The foundation of stability still worked.
Almost certainly. And see, there were lessons that you learned during that period
1,000%.
that, you know what I mean? Now, let's juxtapose that to me. So when you were 22, you're married with that foundation. Me, on the other hand, I'm out here freestyling. Yeah. And so from that 20 to 25, I lived probably 2 lifetimes.
That makes sense.
All kind of just crap from here to there. Do you wake up, you're back here. You wake up, you're back there. Here, which leads to your other point of the longevity. Yeah. You know what I mean? It's one thing to make some money. It's how long can you keep it, maintain it, grow it, so on and so forth.
And now that y'all been, almost 20 years in this thing,
right?
Like y'all built the wealth life, right? Because it's not just the money part of that.
Exactly.
It's the loving
everything
relationship,
else,
the
certainly.
Children, the being able to spend time with each other, to do what you both love. Because, one of the things that I really admire about you guys is y'all been working together for a long time.
Right, most certainly.
Right? And still work hand in hand.
Right.
And everybody asks us all the time, how do y'all work together every day?
Right.
It's like, well,
right.
I really like my wife.
Exactly.
Well, will you really like your wife in 20 years? You really like your wife. Like when I see y'all,
even
when we call y'all and you jump on the phone, be like, hey, yeah. Like y'all together.
Most certainly.
And that's really what we aspire to do is we want to have a business and a marriage.
Exactly.
Right? We don't need the reality show. We don't need the whatever. We just want to have a really great business and a really great marriage and family.
Great friends to enjoy it with.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? That's, and it hasn't come without trials, without numerous mistakes, without our just looking at each other and say, okay, are we really going to do this forever? Okay, yeah, we tripping, and then we get beyond it. But a great marriage and a great life is something that you're just going to build through this process we call life. So it's not a straight line. It's a journey that has sometimes you're going to U-turn, circle back, go up, then, go down. But to me, all of those experiences, those U-turns, as well as the advances, all kind of, they're like the seasoning to life, if you will.
So how has, if you follow life together and then the real estate market, which has gone like crazy in the last 20 years.
Right.
Essentially, through those periods, through those ups and downs in the market, did that mirror your relationship? Were there periods where y'all up and the market was up, periods where y'all was down and the market was down? Or how did that affect y'all? Because y'all are both in real estate.
Most certainly.
Or when did y'all go full time? When you were already in it?
Right. Yeah. So I pretty much, she was probably not long after.
Oh, damn.
Yeah, I mean, because, as a, great paying engineering job, they have a certain level of, they want a certain amount of your intellectual
They restrict your time.
Yeah. So it's hard to see me, sleep. I'm getting to the office at 9. You leave it at 7:30. Yeah.
It creates that animosity. Yeah. We see that in a lot of couples too.
Please, yeah.
Because like we quit our jobs at the same time. Same day.
Okay.
We
Wow.
had to.
Okay.
And I didn't want to.
Really?
No, I love my job. Like I've done construction my entire adult life.
Right.
So literally, I worked a series of jobs that I liked before I was 18. I went to college. I wanted to build, own, and operate hotels. I started working at a hotel. I managed that hotel. I learned I didn't want to do that. I didn't want to manage the hotel, but I still loved the building.
Right.
Kept the building part.
Wow, okay.
Started building buildings, got into construction. I've been doing construction every day since then. So for me, I'm enjoying every day. Every day I wake up, I love it. It don't matter if I'm building a building, if I'm building a house, if I'm building a pond, if I'm building a dollhouse.
I'm building.
I love it. Right. She, on the other hand, had a 15-year-long career in early childhood.
Oh, wow.
So her thing was completely, different.
Out.
And she at the office every day.
Right.
So she see me. Now I'm in California. I'm on flights. I'm and even when she met me, I'm on a job site, whatever. But I ain't really.
Right. Yeah,
I have more time, more flexibility. Yeah. So that animosity of you free, I'm not free is a real thing.
Very real.
So I fully understand.
Very real.
So she left the job because
she like,
you can't be asleep on the couch.
But you know what was funny? And back then, what's funny is I think one of the catalysts was, so we go to the dinner parties, right? And, all the coworkers. And so I was in real estate. So, I'd be having real estate conversations with other spouses, and it's lively and fun. Now, all the nerds on the other end of the table talking algorithms and, DSP protocols and all the stuff that make these things work. And, that's only the 2 or 3 people who are, they that's all they talk about. Everybody else want to talk real estate. And we had that maybe at a Thanksgiving party and a Christmas party. And so maybe the next year she's like, when I really think about, like, at the last 2 times, I wanted to be over there with y'all, but I'm over here talking about, and I was like, we're young. We don't have any kids. Like,
you ain't got nothing to lose.
Like, what? So, I was her cheerleader on that point, saying, hey, because I'm the risk taker. Yeah. She's the one.
You're the igniter. She was the stabilizer. There you go. And exactly. She probably still is, because you do certainly. Way more risky stuff than she does. She's selling them houses.
Yeah, exactly. Hey, we go keep this thing here. You go bounce off the walls. And
she makes sure the mortgage is set.
Exactly. And everything in order. Paperwork is, you put paperwork in my hands, it goes to die.
Hey, that's all right.
Exactly.
Same way. Right. Look, but they put the resources around us because they make us better.
It's a gear. You know what I mean? So you got to get those gears working synergistically, but most certainly.
So you egged her on. She quit the job.
Yeah, she's like, no, I'm out of here. And so going to your question of the ebbs and flows of the market, no. Maybe in one period where the market was kind of down. And so that, in addition to other things, kind of was one of those down periods. But in the other 2 times where there's been even a marginal or transitional market, like one of the biggest times I lost money after the crash had happened. So it wasn't a crash. Man. It was residual effects and other stuff that caused me to lose money or not be profitable in that case. So our relationship was never really tied to what was going on for the most part. Yeah, financial. I mean, obviously, your money will impact the romance.
No, for sure.
Finances impact the romance for sure. And when there's no finances, ain't no romance.
Nothing kills sex drive like throwing a bill in the bed. Do you throw a bill in the bed? Ain't no sex happening.
It's out of there. No. So, most of our challenges just happen at the time they happen. And, we dealt with them accordingly.
No, I mean, but kudos to y'all, because y'all been rocking this thing, man.
Hey, man, it's important to marry the right person.
And y'all still like love. Yeah. I love seeing like black love, like folks who into each other. Because for me, I'm like, yeah. Right. Because I like my wife.
Right, exactly.
And I like being around brothers that like their wives. Because I know a lot of brothers who don't like their wives. And who ain't really, like, you got that friend group of like married folks who ain't trying to be married.
Hey, man, that's so funny.
So I'm really trying to spend my time with the folks who trying to be married. Well, I say, because I'm trying to be married.
Hey, yeah, exactly. Hey, baby, me and Kevin meeting, she thinking twice.
Look, because I got cousins and stuff. I remember on our wedding, like the week before our wedding, my cousin was like, yo, man, let's fly to Brazil and get some chicks. I'm like, brother, I'm about to be married. And he like, man. But them chicks in Brazil, though. I'm like,
right, yeah. Yeah,
like,
you understand what I'm trying to do. No. The phrase you said was, I like my wife. Mm-hmm. Now, it's 2 reasons why I'm laughing hysterically when you said that. Number one, think about how often you hear brothers say that. And to me, I don't hear it enough. Like where God say, in fact, man, hey, yes, you love, but yeah.
Love is different than like.
Exactly. Well, most certainly. Yeah. There's a distinction there, right? But I like her. Mm-hmm. Like who she is. How like speaks to a different type of affinity. Yeah. So that's the first reason that's funny. Second reason that's funny because you talk about different friend and peer groups we may be in. And I'll never forget there being this group and they were planning a fellas trip. Which I take fellas trip all the time. Mm-hmm. And so then I thought, okay, cool, yeah. So, they started describing and they were talking about the previous ones they took. And it was funny. Like, oh, okay, all right. And it was me and another brother that both, like you could see on the people whose face who was kind of excited, who wasn't. And so after we walked out the room, he was like, his first words I was about, man, I ain't going. I like my wife.
Look, though.
And that became our joke. Every time we see each other, hey, man, I like my wife. Yeah, I like mine.
Because it's a different energy. When you like your wife,
yeah, most certainly.
You're looking for more opportunities to grow your relationship, not run away from it.
That's right. I like that. Looking
so,
for more opportunities most certainly.
I'm thinking about, it's funny because, and this is secret to the podcast. Y'all don't know this, but my wife turns 40 in 2 years.
Wow. Okay.
So I'm planning her 40th birthday. right? So
Sure.
I'm like going through stuff. I'm like,
Mhm.
how can I make this 40 party dope?
Word.
That's 2 years from now.
Right.
You gotta really like your
Right.
wife.
Yeah.
Stop playing 2 years from
Word.
now.
Word.
So I'm looking at our life,
Word.
and we were talking about it this week because I'm a planner
Right.
by nature, right?
Gotcha.
That's the project manager
Right.
in me.
There you go.
I'm like, look, I can book a dope venue. I can
Mhm.
put that bitch on a payment right now, and
Right.
I can make sure it's paid off by the time we
Word.
had a party. Everything will be
Word.
paid for.
Word.
Because I also am going, I know me and money. So
Right.
she manages me.
Right. Right.
Because that's her strength.
Exactly.
But
Same
I
here.
plan.
Right.
That's my strength.
Right.
So I said, okay, this is what the payment is going to be
Word.
spread out over 24 months.
Word.
So we can have $15,000
Right,
party.
yeah.
It don't matter. Spread
Yeah.
out over 24 months, it ain't
Yeah.
shit. So
yeah.
I'm like,
Sure.
okay, that's
Yeah.
the play. But that's a lot of light.
Oh,
Because there's
that's
a lot of
like-
ups and
yeah,
downs
Nah.
in
for
that,
sure. For sure.
600 plus
Yeah.
700 days.
Right. Yeah.
But
Wait.
for
What's that?
720
730 days.
yeah, 730
So-
days before you get to that party. So
Word.
I'm like, hey, yo.
So, question then: when you meet a new person that's looking to get married, and you give them your 1 or 2 nuggets of advice, what is that?
That's a good question. We always tell people to surround yourself with folks who want to be married.
Like they might, like who like
Right.
their husband, right? Okay.
Because your peer group
Right.
directly affects your relationship. If you got a bunch of folks in your ear going, nah, man, don't
Right,
do
yeah.
that or don't do that.
He tripping.
I always tell men, you want to serve your wife because that's I'm a sacrificial leader. right?
Okay,
And my goal is to move all the obstacles out of the way for my family.
that's
Right.
beautiful.
So if my family good,
Right,
I'm good. I wear the
Right.
same jeans every day, literally,
Yeah.
bar none. Same jeans every day. I wear
Right.
different t-shirts,
Right, exactly.
same
yeah,
damn jeans
exactly,
every day.
Exactly.
As long as my family
Right.
got it,
Exactly. I'm
I'm
straight.
good. I could have
Yeah.
$1 billion. I could have $0.
Right.
As long as my family got
Most
what they
certainly.
need, I'm generally straight. So I lay down that
Mhm.
sacrifice for my family,
That's
for my wife
beautiful.
specifically, right? I serve her.
Okay.
And that's a good way to be because you'll always be chasing
Right.
your wife.
Mm,
So
that's
I'm
good.
always chasing.
Always.
I'm always chasing. That's what keeps
I like
the
that.
light.
I like
right?
that. Yeah.
Because I'm like, damn, my wife look good. She'd be mad at me on the podcast. I'm
Right,
like,
yeah.
yo. And she'd be like, we on the podcast.
Right.
I'm like,
Right.
but I like you though.
Right. Yeah. yeah.
So that
she
keeps
get mad. She ain't really mad.
No, but I'm saying
Yeah, no.
that keeps it
Right.
always
Right.
the scale stay balanced in your marriages.
Most certainly.
Because
most
men
certainly.
got options.
Oh, most certainly.
Right? And
certainly.
the second you open that doorway, it's
Yeah.
like, a
Right.
faucet of blood, man. You can't turn it off.
Yeah, you can't
So-
close it.
The best thing I do is stay my black ass at home.
Word.
I'm always in the right place.
Right.
Right.
Mm,
I'm always with my family. I'm with my
Right.
kids. You same way.
Right.
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 I'm doing what I'm supposed to do. But I
Right.
wake up every day and decide who I want to be. So
Mm,
second piece to that is, and this isn't specific to young married couples. This is
Mhm.
really just what I tell men.
sure.
You get to decide every day what kind of man you want to be.
Mhm.
Right. So the type of man that I've become is choice. I
Right, by
modeled
choice.
myself after 6
Right.
men in my life. Right. My father on his personality and what not to do, and a
Right.
lot of the best aspects of his personality, and I left
Sure.
all the bad stuff.
Right.
Right. And I have 5 uncles.
Wow.
And
that's
those
beautiful.
5 uncles, I modeled myself after. So one of my uncles was super attentive father. He was at present at every game. He, another one of my
Wow.
uncles, he cooks. He's Jamaican.
Right. Yeah.
He was super in tune spiritually. He had his
Right.
stuff together.
Word.
Another one of my uncles was mad strong. He always
Gotcha.
was like the superhero of the family.
That's beautiful,
Another one
man.
can figure out anything. He put it all together. Another one was literally had the corporate life in check.
Wow.
So I modeled myself after the best parts of these men
Wow.
to create who I wanted to be. And I grew into that person. And that was the same man I was trying to be at 20.
Right. Almost.
So
certainly.
I became every
Right.
day by making those decisions.
Wow.
Well, one. So if you want to be married, or if you want to be whatever kind of man you want to be, if you want to
Right.
be a great father, if you want whatever, wake up and make that intentional decision every day. Every day.
That's good.
I mean, it's the same way
That's
building
good.
a house. It's the same way
Almost
doing
certainly.
anything.
Yeah.
It's just a series of decisions. It's a series of steps.
Exactly.
Right? Like if I know, okay, I'm gonna frame this house, I need windows, I
Right,
need
exactly.
doors. So I got to make those decisions before
Exactly.
I order the windows and the doors.
You can't wake up the day of.
No, you can't. 'Cause you can't go to the store and just get them. You
Nah.
could,
Nah.
but you're gonna be changing
Yeah,
sizes.
nah.
It's gonna mess up your plan. So you
Right.
got to plan it out. You got to plan out your life the same way,
Right.
intentionally, right?
Right.
So
That's
Say
good
that.
advice, man. That's good advice. That's
what about
practical.
you?
First thing I say is learn how to communicate with your spouse.
That's a good one. And I'm not great at communication, so that's probably why I did.
Well, that's not true. You are great at communication.
Not with my wife, though.
Well, yeah, okay, right. Within certain circumstances, it gets more difficult, but that's because of that layers we add to the communication. You know what I mean? So a lot of times, we use our language as projectiles. They're missiles.
That's true.
You know what I mean? It's meant to detonate upon contact.
Now, look, where I come from, I'm a shit talker. I talk shit.
Right. You know what I mean?
My whole family talk shit.
Off the rip, though?
Look.
Right.
Horrible mouths.
Really? Just off top.
And I'm a fighter by nature.
Oh.
So I went to Yates. I went to from elementary school to high school.
I'm going to hug my kinfolk next time I see her.
And look, here's the funny thing about it, though.
Right.
I ain't even really gonna do nothing. I just want to piss you off.
Right, yeah. I got to touch you. Say this is that. I got to touch you a certain way.
Because my wife is she's unaffected.
Right.
She's
me. Yeah.
She's her birthday's in January. So she's oh, okay. So I gotta say enough stuff to make you feel.
See, you want to rise.
Oh, I gotta piss
see
you
something,
off.
Yeah.
Man, I pissed off bad one time. She ran into the garage. She was pissed. So I'm
me, I'm the opposite. I'm gonna go in my shell. I'm not going. See, you can't argue with me. So
when's your birthday?
September.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah. So I'm not gonna argue with you. So that's off top, number one.
That would be infuriating.
Yeah, and so I'm gonna go on my rock. That's what we call it. Okay, he in his rock now. He in his shell. We gonna wait till he come out. And depending on how bad you piss me off, I might be in there some days. You know what I'm
man.
So, yeah.
That's a 10th house right there.
Yeah.
When you be in your shell, do you sleep in the bed? Or do you go to guest room?
It would depend.
And you can hold that.
Yeah, but that's so childish, bro.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? But again, we all have our character flaws.
Oh, for sure.
Was definitely something that I had.
That's what makes it exciting, though.
Exactly. Oh, I mean, that's let me say it like this: when people that seemingly have nothing, like their life is even keeled, go out and create trauma and drama because of the monotony of life, right? So to your point, see, it's like this. It's like a plane. A plane can only ascend to the degree that it's gone through turbulence and the wind and the pressure and so on. It's not like the sky just open up and say plane fly. It doesn't work like that. It's counterintuitive how it works.
No.
And that's how our relationships are. Like the beauty of our 20 years, in essence, has a lot to do with the challenges we've had to overcome.
Huh.
You follow me?
That's a good perspective. I like that.
And again, I call it the seasoning. It's kind of
the seasoning
it's like
gave
gumbo.
You the longevity.
Yeah, it's gumbo. You see what I'm saying? So one of the things that...
Shout out to Alyssa with the gumbo book.
Okay, cool. So we have one son, but we've had 6 pregnancies. You see what I'm saying? So that is something that kind of rattles you to the core because I grew up in a large family. So having a large family was major for me.
And that's dramatic to go through that many challenges.
Yeah, not one. I'm saying literally, and so literally where you see the child come out and then they don't make it. So So to me, that was a galvanizing force for our marriage is the loss that we experienced. You know what I mean? And then fortunately we do have a son. His name is Caleb. He's 15 years old. So and even the process with having him wasn't a breeze. He was born at 25 weeks and weighed 1 pound and 6 ounces.
Oh, damn.
Yeah. Literally this phone was larger than he was. Literally, literally he's this size in my hand.
It's funny. My older brother was just as small.
Really?
And he had to have open heart surgery.
Wow.
A month and a half after he was born.
Yeah.
And he was around the same time, I think he was 23 weeks. Something like that.
Okay.
Texas Children's, when he was born, one of my dad's clients from River Oaks, cost $250,000 to be born. My family had no insurance, nothing. One of my dad's clients was, one of the owners of Memorial Herman or whatever.
Right.
And he donated all this money.
That's beautiful.
And washed out the bill. He said, that baby don't have no bill. Now,
amazing.
The messed up part about that is I'm the second baby. So that first baby got all that, and they still coddle his ass to this day. Now me, I had to get it out the mud because they he fit in your hand. My ass was in a trash pail over here.
Hey, what do you feed, my boy? Yeah, you didn't have no dramatic entry. Yes, that's funny, man.
I'm telling you.
My boy Kevin like, man, I don't care when he was born. Show me some love. You know what I'm saying?
Look, I used to punch him in the back of his scar. He has a big scar on his back. And to tell you, it's so crazy. My brother's the same size as me.
Really?
But across the whole top shoulder of his back is a huge scar.
Really?
That he's had since he was a baby from the open heart surgery. Because they had
That's
to go
crazy.
through his back to operate on his heart.
Man, that's
traumatic. And I used to punch the shit out that scar. Well, when we used to fight, I want that bitch to bust open. Look.
He said, "No, I'm getting my revenge. I'm exacting my revenge straight up. I'm gonna get some straightening up in there." You know what I'm saying?
We're gonna have a trauma episode for that.
Right? Yeah. Well, we gonna burn all the,
But that was a galvanizing force.
Man, it was. It was a galvanizing force, and so that, and just again, other trials of life. But I think that was the pivotal thing for us because that happened early in our marriage, and so that was something that caused us to align ourselves and focus on one another versus the other trivial stuff you can focus on. Like your arguments aren't even arguments when you lost a child together. What are we tripping on? Let's go take a vacation.
It's funny how all the things that you would think would be so are those hills that you're choosing to die on. If something happens, and I've had this happen several times in my life in my family, like you be beefing and then you get a call that somebody died and you immediately stop the beef. Right. Well, then how crucial was the beef? It wasn't. It's just like.
Exactly.
And it's funny, I told my wife, I said, look, this is where I'm at now from an argument standpoint. I love to argue, but this is where I'm at. I was like, we ain't getting a divorce. Right. So I'd be mad. Right, yeah. But we ain't getting a divorce.
Hey, so, that's what we said. We ain't going nowhere. Like, what
so
we gonna do?
Look, man, like, I'm pissed. You offended me. That hurts my feelings. Yeah. But we got to record this podcast. We got to go. We work together every day. Right. So we don't have the choice. I got to do this inspection report. Like, I don't have the ability to walk away and be mad. Like, look.
Yeah. So let me go and fire these two off right quick. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, like, let's deal with it and be done.
Let's have sex. Let's go to sleep. That's it. Make me feel better. Give me sex. I will feel better, and we'll go to sleep. That's it. Look, we are
that similar, bro.
No, I'm just saying, like, look, that's the soothing bomb for most men.
SS, sex and sleep, straight up, we good.
And then tomorrow I'll be on something too. Because I like you. I really like you.
All is well, straight up. That's funny, man. That's funny. I say sex and sleep.
No. Look.
Right.
It's funny.
Hey, we talking marriage and real estate.
That's true. That's real life. So it's funny. In me and Aisha's relationship, our galvanizing force was betrayal. So in her previous relationship and in my previous relationship, we both got cheated on. Okay. So our marriage is our safe space.
Gotcha. Ooh,
so literally, she knows she could trust me because I don't want to feel like I felt. Right. And I know I can trust her because she doesn't want to feel like she felt. Right. So that betrayal.
So y'all retreat to one another.
Exactly.
That's
so we know we can trust each other. So we have infinite trust. There's no secrets, no nothing. Like
she know the code on your phone. Right?
I don't even do the phone thing. Right, like literally take this actually, and I'll tell you something funny. This is her phone. Oh. So I bought her a new phone. Okay. A couple of months ago, or not even a couple of months ago, maybe like a month ago. I got her a new phone. Gotcha. And when I ordered the phone, I was like, oh, okay, cool. Phone came in, boom. So now it's time for me to get a new phone. Right. So I got the new Pro Max or whatever, and it was gold and white.
What, Samsung, what's that?
iPhone. Okay. So when I opened my new phone, it was way too pretty for me. Oh. It was gold and white and nice. So I called her up. I said, let's switch phones. Because you deserve this really nice, pretty gold phone. Right, I do construction.
He getting brownie points. Yeah.
I don't need no damn.
Right.
I do construction.
Yeah, no, come on, bro. Yeah, you know.
I don't need no phone. Look.
I'm on the 8. So
this got a selfie case on it. Who phone you think it is? This ain't my phone. Like, so we switched phones yesterday. Word. She had a selfie case.
Hey, it's tight. My girl got a selfie case. Okay.
But you know the thing about it is, I love her enough to sacrifice.
Oh, most certainly.
So she need the best phone. She need the best, whatever. Because that's for her.
Most certainly.
I'm good if she's straight. Yeah. So you're like, but that in the theme of our relationship is that safe space. The theme of our relationship is as long as we can trust, as long as there's no enemy within, nobody without.
That's beautiful.
Like, that ain't even us. That's old school. Like, I forget what that proverb. I think it's an African proverb. But really, what did it say? If there's no enemy within, then no enemy outside can attack. So whatever.
No,
so
that's beautiful. I like that.
Oh man, that's our safe space.
I can appreciate that. Yeah, this is great, man. I'm excited to watch this myself. Like,
yeah. No.
Some good marriage tips we discussed. I think it'll help a lot of people though.
No, for sure. And we didn't get into all the cool shit that you do. Like, we ain't talking about none of the
maybe this is more important, maybe.
That's true. Maybe. No, that's true. That's true. And we well over time. But
we already over time?
No, okay. I mean, we can go as long as you want. As long as you got time, we can run it.
Okay, I thought,
No, I'm tripping. So typically we do a 30-minute podcast.
Okay. Yeah, so we over time then.
The reason we started 30 minutes is because pulling my wife to do an hour was a feat.
Right.
So we gonna make this short and sweet because it's like a house party. The second the house party up, she go, all right, y'all. Yeah. Hey, I don't know where y'all going. Right. Woo! Exactly. This was a good time.
Shut off just like that. Ain't no lagging around, no meeting after the meeting, none of that.
So one of the things that I definitely want to at least touch on this before we left: development in urban areas. So we both build in urban environments. One of the things that, of course, across America, housing is an issue.
Right.
Across, especially urban cities, blighted neighborhoods, overlooked neighborhoods is an issue. So what's your opinion on the future of housing in urban areas, right? And then maybe let's keep it local to like Houston or whatever, and what you think the future of the city looks like.
So, I think, the future for housing is bright, in part because of the challenges that it is facing. We have an affordable housing crisis, which nationally, depending on Hughes' numbers, 7 million and 9 million home shortfall. The cool thing is I think Houston's really progressive. We've had for years many small developers that have been building in some of our inner city areas. And now you have the big box builders moving into areas like Sunnyside and some of our other neighborhoods.
They on the outskirts. They ain't coming deep. You see them deep?
Bro, like around our properties? Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you look at like a Castle Rock.
Well, yeah, I'm saying that's a big box street. Okay, we dropping names, but okay, not that dude. Like what?
They have a different model.
Sure, but they're also in big communities and
that's true.
Nature. So that's true. My point, like to me, it's about assessing. I have this theory I call follow the smart money. It's a reason why builders like that are coming. To
that's
these
real.
Areas.
That's real.
And the reason why I highlight that in the context of this conversation is because there's so many of people like us that aren't from the area. 3 years from now, we're gonna be like, blah, 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 blah. But you weren't paying attention when these guys initially came in and started making roads. And so I always like to highlight those type of things because one of the opportunities for more people from these areas is it's not too late.
That's true.
So many people think it's too late. And I learned this from Mr. Hodges, a gentleman from Fifth Ward that's over 80 years old, has a really nice portfolio, always been in real estate. One of the things he told me is when he first got started, there were several of him and his friends. And he said, by the time they had reached their 60s, 50s, and 60s, he had been the only one that was doing it in real estate. And they had long ago checked out. And I say, what was the difference? Like, why did your guys, because y'all are making money. And he said, young blood, they didn't want to buy at the new price. He changed my life when he told me that, Kevin, because he said, look, he was a piece of land he had just sold for $400,000. He said, okay, you as a buyer, in order for you to get it today, you would have to pay me $400,000. I was like you. I would have paid $400,000. All my buddies were mad because they didn't buy it when it was $200,000. So because they didn't buy it at $200,000, they're going to not buy it at $400,000 when they didn't connect the dots that when you could have bought it at 200, there was a reason why you could have bought it at 200. It's not 400 today just because the person just want more money. There's more value now. The area is different. I was buying in Fifth Ward when the hard money lenders, all the ones that we could name
wouldn't
right now,
even find it.
We don't lend over there. Oh, no.
It's a war zone.
Yeah. It's the bloody nickel. Have you heard? Nah, bro, I grew up there. You know what I mean?
I remember when I was building for Chase and the branch in South Union was my branch, right down OST and Scott.
Word.
And I'm having an argument with the executives on a real estate team at Chase because they're telling me how, and we closed the branch further down Cullen, and they're telling me about how it's a war zone.
Right.
And they're like, it's so bad. I said, I grew up here.
Right.
It's not, I know the branch manager.
Right.
No, it's not a war zone.
Right. Exactly.
Is it a undeveloped area?
Most
sure.
Most
but is it the worst place in the world? No. Like, bro, People live here.
Exactly.
So,
Exactly. And so, so back to the point. So I think that there's a lot of opportunity. And so I'm very optimistic because I see one of the things that's become cool over the last 0 to say 2.5 to 3 years is buy back the block initiatives like that. And just more people paying attention to what's happening. Gentrification is a hot button. So now you have more people that historically probably wouldn't have been real estate investors or even thought of it. Now the activism part of it now piques their interest and causes them to want to be more active in the area. So I see this and so many other converging factors happening that cause me to be excited. And then I think that we're in a stage now. Materials are really, really expensive. I think we've just had that tipping point like we had with all commodities, where there's a spike in them, that historic spike, unlike anything. And but this is going to set the new level. High. Yeah, it's going to set the new high. So, which is something you and I have talked about, which is why when you said it, it was funny. It's my same sentiments exactly, is that no, we didn't stop building. We actually are kind of pressing forward and being more optimistic. And
on the way through it is through.
Because I recognize that there are even big box and smaller builders and other individuals at different levels that have started to kind of slow down or repivot and shift for whatever reasons they have. But I recognize something different in the market. So yeah, man. If anything, Kevin, one of my biggest regrets is that probably over the last 12 to 18 months, I hadn't been more aggressive. I'd kind of been going, not necessarily foot on the brake and the gas simultaneously, but I kept my foot kind of, because I've seen previous cycles and the market's been good so long, you're just been waiting on a shoe to drop. You know what I mean? And so for me, at least that was part of my thing. And so really when I look at from March to June or July, we had unprecedented opportunity. And now looking back, I'm like, dude.
What's funny? So in 2019, I was you knew me in 2019.
Right. Exactly.
I was hyper aggressive and got my ass handed to me.
Right.
And now that everything that I envisioned is happening. Right. The funny thing about it is, and I have my moments, but the funny thing about it is I see even more opportunity ahead, but not necessarily that I need to be necessarily more aggressive.
Right.
Just be consistent.
Right.
Because over time, the consistency is dollar cost average.
Exactly.
Like literally my consistency will win. It's funny that you talked about the I forget the gentleman's name. Mr. Hodges gave you the advice of they didn't want to buy at the new price.
Right.
I think about neighborhoods like River Oaks, which is going through its own gentrification, right? So you're looking at homes built in the 50s and the 60s that now people are tearing down.
Literally.
And, paying $1 million for something. They're scraping it, building a mega mansion or whatever.
$6-7 million crib.
And that's a thing too, right? So that's gentrification in the same way.
Exactly.
And the funny thing is, those builders in River Oaks ain't coming crying about shit.
Nothing.
They ain't coming and saying, man, look, you can't buy a tear down for $1 million no more. You can't. No, they find a way to press through.
Right.
And,
certainly.
I always tell my wife this, and she don't watch movies, so it's like it falls on deaf ears. But the movie 300, when he's like, our arrows will block out the sun, he's like, then we're going to fight in the shade.
Exactly.
The sun's getting blocked. We fighting in the shade.
Exactly.
But I'm fighting though.
Right. I'm still swinging.
I told somebody when we got into real estate, I said, I'm going to be in real estate.
Right.
So where you going to find me? You're going to find me in real estate.
Exactly.
Like 10 years from now, I'm going to be in real estate. The same way I've been in construction 10 toes down for 15 years.
Exactly.
I'm here, right?
Exactly.
So the reality of the situation is
I'm going to be in real estate. Exactly.
Because people, they wave, you know what I mean? With the market, with the whatever, everybody, we get a lot of investors every day. People like, oh yeah, man, I'm about to go invest. I'm about to do this. I'm about to do that. They lose a couple grand and then they be like, I'm gonna go do something else. I'm a Forex or whatever. Like they're picking up whatever's hot. Exactly. So whenever people come to me like, hey, you want to learn about this new opportunity? I said, no, I'm gonna learn about this real estate opportunity because this is what I do.
Exactly.
Right? We do real estate.
That's it.
We used to tell couples that all the time that we sat down with. They'd be like, oh, well, what are you looking at in 5 years? Or where you gonna be going in 6 years? I was like, I'm gonna do real estate.
Right. Exactly.
This is my job. Now, will I have other investments? Sure. Will I diversify? Definitely. Do I have money in other things? Of course. But I do real estate.
Exactly.
I got into this to do real estate.
And I dreamed about this. Like going back to
every day.
Exactly. Like literally I wrote down, okay, I call this thing, what is your ideal day? Like my ideal day when I was in 1994, I could show you the journal where I wrote down, okay, this is what I want my ideal day to look like. And I revised it a few years later. When I look at my life and how I set up, when I wake up by default, there was a time when me and my wife geared our life to do nothing. We wanted to have the level of lifestyle we had minus having to do any work. So we woke up at 10, if we woke up at 7, if we woke up at 8 p.m., it didn't matter. And we lived like that for a period of time. And that was cool for that period of time because we wrote down being able to live like that. But then as you get older and you experience more and you want to have more impact, you know, at a certain period of your life, you're focused on income. And then if you really kind of listen to what I believe are inner voices we have speaking to us all the time for things that we have an affinity to, you move from income to impact. How can you impact people, the environments I'm in? I want to, you know, impact this area, this region. And so once we started to focus on that, it was amazing how Kevin, I was a person who designed my life to generally I wake up somewhere around 9:30, 10, but now I wake up with no alarm clock at 6 o'clock. Thinking about the house and, you know, wanting to go look at this house, you know, and wanting to go design something. And so I tell that to entrepreneurs that I'm not the person that say follow your passion or whatever the case may be, but follow your passions.
No, look,
you know what I'm saying?
I'm living proof of that.
Design your life.
Like the funny thing about it is I did that inadvertently, right? From a very early age. From 12 years old, my father used to walk me in the house in River Oaks because my family's landscaped in River Oaks for 80 years.
Wow.
So he used to take me in the mansions and go, this is real life, right? So I'm going back to Third Ward.
Exposure's everything.
And I'm like, well, hold on.
Right.
CUNY homes, this block. No.
Right.
But my daddy told me this is real life.
Right.
Right? Like, this is real life. So I always had that dichotomy, right? Like that
there's a chasm
two worlds.
Right.
It's two worlds.
Exactly.
Every day I'd walk out and I'd do something different. So for me, I wake up every day.
Right.
You know what my dream was? To build some shit.
Right, exactly.
And I get the pleasure of waking up every day and doing it. So when I'm walking on site, like I've been wearing boots for 15 years. I love this shit. I do it, man. I think about it. I dream about it. I wake up and
feedback means the most to you? What's the most impactful from, like, obviously the people who are living there, you know, getting the house, but whose feedback moves you in a different way, if that's a valid experience?
So it's not direct feedback. Now I love my kudos.
Right.
I'm a true millennial. I love my kudos. But the thing that just, gets me up in the morning is seeing people walk out the plan that I created.
Oh, gotcha.
So like that house we built at Seabrook, right?
Right.
We sketched.
I wish we would have recorded like that night or something, man.
But literally, the fact that we can draw on a piece of paper,
right,
and then somebody lived in these spaces as we drew them,
right.
That's amazing to me. Like I used to do that at the hospital. I would design a floor all the way from the patient path to how somebody comes from the waiting room to the treatment to this and that while we're doing construction. And I'd see these people walking. It's like ants in an ant farm.
Yeah, that's beautiful.
So for me, from the design to whatever, I see the world in a certain way. Right. And this is how I really identified my true gift, right? My gift is vision. I see the world in a certain way. And my goal is to bring that vision to life. And when I'm operating my gift, I bring everybody to help create that vision. That's me operating my highest and best use, right? So I have the technical skills to build it, but I've learned that along the way. That's not innate, right? You actually have to study that and learn that. The gift is the vision.
Right.
God gives you that.
Right.
So once you have the vision, now you learn the things to, put it all together. So
coming to an Instagram post near you.
No, for sure. So, for me, once I see the vision come to life, because the second I envision it, I'm damn near done with it.
Right, yeah.
It's already built.
Creator's dilemma. Yeah.
Because the second I see it, I see it so clearly. And I know I have to do all the steps to make it happen, but it's done.
Right. Yeah.
It's like I send a letter off to God and say it's already done. I've designed so many buildings and strip centers and whatever and houses that I design on paper. And I love seeing, like when I go to Grand Park Square and see our development we're doing now.
Wow.
And I was telling bankers a year ago, I was like, look, we're going to drive down the street and this going to be Park Street. We're going to have both sides of the street or whatever.
That's beautiful.
So to see that come to life.
Yeah, that's
and now people walk up and go, oh shit.
Right, yeah.
Y'all building a community.
Over here in the hood, man.
Like, yeah. And there was nothing there. When I was building that house on Wood, there was no new houses in that community in over 20 years. Wow. When I built that house in in Sugar Valley,
Right.
25 years, no new home, right?
Wow.
So yeah, it takes a lot to do it.
Yeah.
But to see the impact of
It's
that,
nothing like it.
it's nothing
like it.
And you got to think about it. Everything that we live in every day is somebody's thoughts,
Somebody's dream. Exactly.
somebody's creation. From the roads we drive on to the clothes we wear on. Your shirt is your thought.
Right, exactly.
Right? This shirt is my thought.
Exactly.
It's an idea brought to reality, right? These phones, this table, these mics, somebody envisioned that and then brought it to life. And now it's something that we use every day.
Wow.
Same thing with a house. So when I envision a house, I'm thinking about the family that's going to live their entire lives. The children that are going to be raised. So
I pondered that myself.
Everybody always asks me, why do you do this? Or why do you put all this extra stuff in your house? Or why you whatever? But I'm thinking about how you live in it.
Exactly.
Right? Like in Grand Park Square, I added 4 feet to the garages. Why?
Right.
Because I knew, okay, we're building townhomes down this whole street. There's going to be no street parking.
Right.
If I don't give extra space for the people who drive trucks like me or whatever in their garage, where are they going to park? Where do you
store your coolers at?
Exactly.
Your 12-pack, you know what I mean? Where does that go?
So then I also moved my doorbells from in front of the front door to on the side of the garage. Why? Because I know you're going to have a steel door here next to your walkway.
Right, yeah.
So where's your Ring camera going to go?
Right, got you.
People ain't going to make it to your front door.
Right.
And nobody's going to get through this gate and come to your front door.
Right.
They're going to come from the garage.
Exactly.
So you need something where somebody is on the side of the garage. But all that forethought is I'm walking through it in my mind. It's
already
So
it's
that's
already
the
here.
feedback.
Man, that's beautiful.
When I see people actually living in it in the way that it was intended to be used, that's the gift.
Yeah.
That's when I'm like, oh, Lord, I know I'm operating in my purpose.
Yeah.
Right. And it's funny, I wanted to touch on one point that you talked about waking up without an alarm clock and just how you're so motivated. To see the transition in my wife from when she worked her job that she got a master's degree in and worked in, an industry for 13 years.
Subject matter expert, right.
And you couldn't beg her to get to the office on time. She's supposed to be at work at 9, it's 8:55. She's like, oh Lord.
Right.
And she was a director. She was in charge, you know what I mean? But she wasn't passionate about it. And she was passionate about it for a degree or to a degree.
Right.
But it wasn't her motivation.
Right.
I can't get her to put her goddamn computer down now.
Wow,
we fight now.
Right, really.
Because she working all the time.
And
she loved it.
Right.
And she's like, man, I'm doing this, but it's the impact.
Right.
She's so much more impactful now.
Right.
So she go to sleep late and wake up early, working for herself. I told her the other day,
invigorated.
I said, the office that we paid for, you work at more than the office that they paid you.
Right. Wow.
That don't make no sense.
Right.
You pay for this office.
Right.
Your ass won't leave.
In there,
They paid you. You wouldn't even go.
Nah.
So.
Nah. The reason why I asked you that question about the feedback, because one of the things I found, especially, one, I agree and have those same feelings about everything you shared. But when I buy a lot of houses that look literally like this. So I buy tear down houses. So that's probably half of our business. And sometimes a little bit more than half because I like to be kind of leveraged or hedged in a certain way. But one of the things that's most impactful to me are the people that are from the neighborhood that saw the house, how it was. Because see, the person that's buying it or renting it now, they don't have no
concept.
Yeah, they have no concept of what it looked like. So it's always fascinating to me when I talk to the neighbor. I'm in front of one of the properties that, we just pulled it out of the dirt. Now it's, 2 feet above grade and it, all this other stuff has happened. And, one of the old schools or one of the, seniors in the neighborhood come say, baby,
and they tell you the whole story.
Man, and some of them stories, I be there, I missed an hour.
I mean, it's like that
else.
Seabrook house. That Seabrook house, that guy died 20 years ago.
Wow.
And when that house was built, he worked for GE, such work for this and that. It was a street of progress.
Wow.
It was a street of promise.
Wow.
So now it's a street of desolation.
Right.
So the neighbor who had been there,
that was a house that had 1,000 tires.
It had 222 tires in it.
Wow.
And the lady told me the story. She had been there 65 years in her house.
Wow.
65 years. They were one of the first families to move on that street.
Really?
And her husband and her, her husband had a good job and such work for here, such work down here. And she could tell you the whole story about the Black promise that was on that street. And it's sad.
Right.
Because we don't find that pride to come back like that. And I love your passion for old houses. For me, and it's just not The struggle is the profitability of it, right? Because it's hard to make them dollars turn with as much as I want to put in the house.
Exactly.
Because to make a house right,
it
take a lot.
I tell people all the time, we had to make a lot of sacrifices. You know what I'm saying? Because, like you say, you have the budget, then you have what you really want it to look like. I always tell people, I say, don't be like me. I'm a weirdo. You know what I'm saying? Hey, if I say go do you one regular house so you can go do new construction and it'll be easier.
That's a good model to have.
Because if you come in and you learn, you get your head kicked in a few times, one good time with a renovation, you're going to say, why would I do this again? Let me just build new. It's easier. You follow me? So it's truly easier. I'm weird in that, like, it's a place I went and looked at Wednesday, Kevin, and it's crazy. Like, I said, it's burnt house because I just designed this really amazing burnt house. So this house is burnt and the house behind it is falling.
I love burnt house.
Yeah, and and so I pulled up to it and I'm just having this conversation with myself because I talk to myself, right? Mm-hmm. And I answer myself. And so I said, dude, why are you excited about this house? And man, it's hard for me to explain, but the only thing, I made an IG post about it and I don't know that it explains it perfectly, but what it says is like when I see the house, I instantly see beyond it. And I fall in love with what it's
with the vision for what
in
it
my
could
mind.
Be. Yep.
Regardless of
and you
all
already
the
see
hell,
it. So now you gotta walk through it.
It's like I gotta make it now.
You gotta finish.
I gotta create it.
You gotta finish.
Because y'all don't know what this gonna look like. See, you see it like this here, but you don't understand what this is gonna become. And so I fall in love with that picture. Like I'm my own best, worst salesman because I sell myself on that vision of what it's gonna become.
Here's a side note question. And I find myself doing very similar to that, but I also go back to what it was when it was.
Oh yeah, most certainly.
What the promise of that house was, what the architect envisioned when he designed it, how the families were supposed
that exact
to live
statement.
In it. But no,
we have to do a second one.
I get caught up in that, and that's why my wife don't let me do renovations like that unless they, because you can get caught in that, right? Like it's a trap. But
most
no.
Certainly.
Okay, we're gonna have to do a part 2. We could talk all day. We could just go eat and talk. But this has been the Marriage and Real Estate Podcast. I'm Kevin Shelton.
Tyron McDaniel.
There we go.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you. No problem. So give them your company names, your IG names, where they can find you, all that good jazz.
Best source find us, our website, Houston Vintage Homes, and on Instagram, Houston Vintage Homes and Urban Vintage Designs, our design company.
There we go. All right. Peace.